Welcome to this month's Think Data Thursday. The title of this one is Constant Learning and the Beauty of Mistakes. And with us to present today, we have both Emily Kund, Social Ambassador and Government Tableau User Group co-leader, Fringe Festival founder, and you didn't even have on there the podcast, the Tableau Wannabe. So that's pretty well known there. And then we also have Ravi Mistry, consultant with the Information Lab, graduate of the Information Lab Data School and consulting analyst at the Information Lab, who is also joining us. And I'm going to go ahead and shift over, Emily, right away to having you be the sharing your being the presenter. Are you
All righty.
There we go. I think the weather here. I should also just say, as we get going, that TC is coming up next month. We probably won't do a Think Data Thursday in. Okay, you should have the presentation ball now to go ahead and start that. And just that we have TC coming up. We probably won't do a Think Data Thursday in November because we get so involved in all of the work related to TC. But I wanted to invite people who are on the call, people who listen to this after the fact on YouTube, to please come by the community desk when you come to TC and say hi. We have stickers for those of you who have any of the badges. I see one of our most renowned members of the community out there, a couple of them out there, that have a large number of badges. We have taken the badges that people earn in the community, and we've turned those into stickers that can be placed on your name tags when you come to TC as well. So please feel free to come by and get those. And thank you guys. Thanks for presenting today. And I'll turn it over to you, Emily.
Okay. Just want to make sure you can see my screen.
Oh yeah, everything looks great.
Okay, great, awesome. All right, so today I'm going to chat a little bit about rookie mistakes and resources. So imagine the excitement. You get your first Tableau project, and it's a big one. You've developed a workbook that measures commitments. You've collaborated with folks. You've gotten help with data. You've worked long and hard. And then it's the big day. You present to senior management, and the reception is less than ideal. How do I read that? That number doesn't look right. How did you arrive at that? There's too much in here. I can recall that discussion like it was yesterday. It was a few years ago. And I also recall the talk I got afterwards and how I felt like my career was over. I had just presented to management and got crushed. So the objective today that I'm hoping to share is to learn from my mistakes so that you don't repeat them at least too many times. And to let you know, Tableau users at all levels have made these mistakes. So now that you know the worst Tableau experience I've ever had, for those who don't know me, I just wanted to quickly share a little bit about who I am. I'm a mom of two awesome kids, Alex and Katie. I'm a data viz hobbyist, so I don't actually use it in my day job anymore, so I play with it on the weekends. And I'm a fitness enthusiast, and I love good food, especially cupcakes, and really engaging books. So my top rookie mistakes. My first one is that I was trying to incorporate all of their wants and desires on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that the management wanted. I tried to fit everything in, trying to please everyone. But in trying to please everyone in the audience, I had too much content and my messaging was not clear. And while it was true that different people wanted different things and they all wanted their stuff to be in the workbook, they all agreed through the types of comments they were making that it was just too much. So how do you work around this? Get focused. Ask, what are the most important items? Name your top 5 items. What items can be supplemental? I used that tactic by just including a simple separator dashboard with the text supplemental information so that there was a focus on the key points and then some additional dashboards that for some of the other things that weren't as important but they still wanted information about. One of my biggest platform issues, and since I have an audience, I'll share it, is audience level reporting, meaning that reports and dashboards are tailored to the audience. Senior management might get the 50,000 view, while mid-management might get the 10,000 view, and analysts get a lot of the detail. Where I work, and a lot of, I think, in a lot of organizations too, executives
Executives don't have time to explore. They want information that's quickly accessible and easy to read, and they'll let their analysts dig in and explore the data. So, depending on the situation, I might do a couple of different workbooks to meet that need. My next rookie mistake was around data quality and accuracy. So my mistake was just knowing the general concepts. Even though I knew and I used the data myself, it's a lot different just having your personal experience with it as opposed to knowing the detail of the data. I also relied on the person who transformed the data for me. So I couldn't answer questions. So how do you work around it? Unless you have the data person with you, when you do a visualization and a presentation, you need about the viz, you need to understand all of the nuances with the data, including the views and how it's been transformed. That might be easy for some, but for others, including me, it's not the type of detail we get into, but it needs to be done. Ask your data person to explain it to you so that you can explain it. That might be challenging for the data person and very frustrating. And my advice is maybe buy them a cupcake, a beer, or beef jerky, or all three. But you need to get it down so that you can talk about it. Then you'll truly understand your data. But it's not just answering questions from management. In my world, I think that management information should be accurate, relevant, timely, and complete. By knowing your data, you'll be able to hit on some, if not all, of these points. You've got this powerful tool and you want to show off all of its functionality. Filters upon filters, parameters, invasive tooltips, you name it, you got it. Adding lots of features because you can, and surely someone will want to use them. The challenge there is that it can be a performance drag, it visually may not be appealing. So, it's like the Coco Chanel quote, before you leave the house, look in the mirror and remove one accessory. So, just like in visualization, look at your viz, see what you have, and see what you can remove. My other mistake was around complexity. So complexity obscured my message. A lot of comments, I got a lot of comments around one particular chart, and a lot of people said, I just don't understand how to read this chart. We want to make beautiful charts, but sometimes they're a little more complex than what they need to be. There's beauty in simplicity. Know who your audience is and what is going to be easy for them to read. I have a sample chart here, which is really hard to understand. We tried educating the readers again and again, but after so many training attempts, there's a message, and it is have the courage to change. There are a couple of quick fixes that we could have done here, like removing the grid lines for the rows and adding the grid lines for the columns, because this data is additive by columns as it's currently displayed. And that might have helped. I think there's a 5-second rule, or I think the 5-second rule is a good rule of thumb. If somebody can see and get the message in 5 seconds, or thereabouts, I think you've got a decent visualization. I look back at this chart and a couple of others, and I just see the flaws, and to me, they're screaming for a makeover. Since I'm no longer in a position to manage or maintain this type of work anymore, I don't have that influence. But I think we should all take a look at our own visualizations and what we can influence and see where it is appropriate to effect some change. This leads me to my next point, that peer review can be a lifesaver, much like this color palette. Take a look at your work critically, as if someone else did it. Answer the question, does it add value to my visualization? If not, consider removing it. Is the color palette viewable by all? If not, change it. Peer review your work. I am such a huge believer in that. And I think probably the biggest mistake of all is around communication. As in this nice little quote, what we have here is a failure to communicate. Ways to resolve it: ask questions. Don't just take the list of requirements or the wants or desires of your audience. Ask questions around that. Listen to what they're saying. What do they want? What do they need? And provide your expert opinion. You may be dealing with folks who don't know a lot about visualization, and you do. And in some cases, you have more expertise than the person you're dealing with. So provide your expert opinion. You know more than you think you do. But it's not just me. Phew. I ran a little poll on Twitter, and a lot of people responded with their biggest mistake was around having too much content, followed by an unintuitive design, then data quality, and then with the other, which was usually, can I select more than one? So now that I've talked a little bit about the rookie mistakes, I wanted to provide just some really good resources out on the web for you to look at. So the first is around blogs. And here are just some, like literally just a few of my go-to blogs. The first is Andy Krabel's blog. I like it because it's pretty, the tips range from being very basic to advanced. What I really like about this is that you can understand the thought process of somebody who's been working in this field for several years. And so I love that institutional knowledge that Andy has, and I think it's great to just kind of see why he does things. And then there's also, he has examples of good data viz through data viz done right, as well as, for me, I think of it as a dataset playground in Makeover Monday. And this is really good. I use it for keeping my skills fresh since I don't do this every day at work. But it also allows folks to be creative as well. So use it as you see fit. The next is Jonathan Drummy's Drawing with Numbers. Why I think it's good is that it facilitates what goes on under the hood of Tableau, and it helps readers go from guessing to predicting what will happen in Tableau. Then we have Data Revelations from Steve Wexler. I think it's good because it's a premier resource on visualizing survey data. He also takes a very critical approach to visualization, and I think that's pretty good. Then we have Paul Benuv's Viz Ninja blog. I think it's good because Paul has established himself as a resource for server, Tableau adoption, and running a center of excellence or business intelligence center, whichever you prefer to call it. And then there's the Twitter folks. Tableau is really active on Twitter. It has a great active Twitter community. Just a few of the folks on Twitter, Brittany Fong, Interworks, Matt Francis, Paul Chapman, Help Me Datablick, Fee Gordon, and the Information Lab. I really like, in particular, what Interworks and Information Lab put out in terms of just resources, and I love the Help Me Datablick from a consultancy perspective. And then we have the community forums, which are just, again, really a fantastic resource of information. You can post your questions, preferably with a workbook, and get answers in a pretty timely manner, thanks to folks like Sean Walwork and Pooja and Ravi. The Ideas Forum is fantastic, so vote them up. And the community is just so stellar here. Sometimes I wonder if they actually work because they're on the forums so much. So that's about it. I love engaging with the Tableau community, so let's keep in contact. I've got my Twitter handle there as well as a couple of my websites. So thank you so much.
My screen.
Yep, we see it great.
Fantastic. Awesome. Shall I go right ahead and get started?
Yeah, please. We're all
awesome.
great. I don't see. Yep.
Cool. So thanks everyone for tuning in this afternoon, morning, evening. And what I'm going to do is really talk about sort of constant learning, the mistakes, and my part is why iteration is a really beautiful thing. So a quick bit on me. I work for the Information Lab, a Tableau partner, and I was part of, well, I still am part of the first cohort of the Data School, which is a program where we learn Tableau and Alteryx for 4 months and then work with the Information Labs clients from then on. And yeah, I mean, the entire process was very much a learning curve for me because I only started using Tableau in February last year. So getting involved in this community and learning so much in just over a year has been a fantastic experience. So what we start with is talking about Agile business intelligence. I mean, these three words, this phrase was jargon to me about a year ago when I joined the Information Lab. But now I sort of understand a bit more about it, what it means, the context around it, and actually why Tableau themselves have it as a key part of their Tableau Drive methodology. So we work in a sort of unique space of data lovers, data pioneers, people that work with data artists. And the best thing for me is the fact that we get to work with both sides of our brain. So the logical side and the creative side, you know, science and art, data and visualization. And then based on this amazing space, iteration is a concept that lends itself, I think, to both sides. And I'd like to explore this concept and share this with you guys today. So let's take a step back. What do I even mean by iteration? So this is how Merriam-Webster defines it. But actually, when I think of iteration, I think of something a bit like this. So I get a bit of cold sweat when I'm in my A-levels when I was 17 years old, trying to learn fixed point iteration and not enjoying the process. But now I think of Agile development techniques, and this is the bit where I'm going to really focus on today. So if we look at the entire design process, even the thought behind this talk when I was doing the research and finding out a bit more about creativity and design, and if there is any literature behind how people go about designing and presenting things, even that I was constantly finding new things and changing how I wanted to present it, the structure, the layout, what I was going to talk about, what I was going to bring in. And this is the same in every single creative process, I think. And you know, the research was fun, and yeah, I enjoyed sort of finding out more about this space. So there's a lot of theory in this area, and I think that the creativity, the iteration, design, all these three processes that you can think about really lend themselves to each other. And I'm going to go ahead and explore a bit more about the design process. So first you have discovery. So you have a challenge, how do you approach it? How can you understand and discover more about the data and the problem? And then the second, we have interpretation. So now you've explored and discovered the data or had a look at the problem, you've learned something. How do you now interpret that, interpret what you've learned? How can you refine the concept further? And this is where we get ideation. So you have an idea and you see an opportunity. What do I create? What's the best approach to show this? So during the data school process, I know that the 4th cohort of the data school started this week, and one of the things I know they will have done on their first day is set up their laptops and then put them away and just got A1 paper out and big jumbo crayons. And this crayon concept that Andy Kruger has created, where you just take a crayon or a pen and paper and you just sketch out the ideas and you really get the creative juices flowing. Other ways of doing this is using post-it notes to sort of lay out screens differently and see sort of how you want to structure your dashboard or visualization. And I think this really helps to sort of get the creative juices flowing. So now you have an idea, you want to experiment. How do I build it? How do I make this dream a reality? I think that steps 3, 4, and 5 really lend themselves to this iterative process, sort of trying it out, taking a step back and developing on it. And Tableau allows us to sort of get to this process so fast and the way that it evolves that we don't even think about it. It just happens at the speed of thought. And then we get, so those were, the 5 phases of the design process. And then this was another sort of image I found that I thought was really good and really poignant for when I in particular start a project. You start with, I've got this amazing idea, this is hard, I'm going to do this and it's going to be fantastic. And then when you get into it, start playing with the data, trying new ideas, and you have sort of this up and down curve. And Chris Love wrote a fantastic post about this, saying that the creative process really is about, you start with an idea and you get to the end. And a lot of the time when you're working in business, people just see the start and the end. And actually, working in an agile way and iterating is a lot of these creative processes combined together. So you get the start and then the end, but there's a lot of process and changes and developments that take part in the middle. So this is another really nice way of looking at the creative process from idea to launch. So where we sort of look at this as the ebb and flow of the idea process when you try different things and change things, but really iteration happens in this sort of focused area here. So I'm going to go through how Tableau helps this with 3 examples. The first being sort of how Tableau helps you prototype fast, being able to fail fast and recover quickly, to about simple formatting, how small tweaks can help you be a more effective designer, and then how Tableau allows you to be inventive. So first up, we're going to talk about the fast prototyping part of this. So I'm just going to hop out of this and sort of talk about the Tableau Shuffle, which is what I call it. Craig Blundworth came with this, and it was a concept that I really enjoyed. Sort of when you do the drag and drop, and because you know it's so quick and easy, just trying different things. And when Andy Cotgrave actually came to the data school to present his TC15 talk about visualizing time, there was one example that he showed me that I really liked. It's called the Batman chart. So I'm going to do a live demo. So fingers crossed that everything goes to plan. So let's just start with, say, sales. So I'm using Superstore Sales, which comes along with every Tableau software, and everyone knows it very well. Let's find the date field, so order date. So Andy was saying about how this is a fantastic way we can drill in and drill out. And the Tableau Shuffle really is about, well, what if I move this to the right-hand side? Or if I change it to an area chart? Or maybe I want to drill into months now. And perhaps we can see these trends, but if we want to compare them on average, we can bring in an average line. And if we now edit this and do it by per pane, we can see the Batman plot if I change it to a black color. And this sort of thing is, I love the concept that, you know, you get Batman in Tableau. It's the best thing ever, right? And if I swap these 2 around, we can do a quarter on quarter. Maybe take this one out and just look at months. And yeah, I really like this idea of just being able to drag and drop and change things and find something really quickly. And you can do this with other chart types when we do a scatter plot and try different things. Obviously got the Show Me pane, which highlights the charts that might work quite nicely for the data that you're using, the dimensions and measures. So next we've got simple formatting. So for this example, I'm going to actually hop out and open up an Excel spreadsheet. So if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that sort of my 2 areas are a lot of sports at the weekends and evenings, and then data viz during the weekday, and also most weekends. And I'm an Ipswich Town fan, so I've come from a little town in England called Ipswich, and we've recently not been doing that great. So I went, and there's a lot of pressure on our manager to change things or even get sacked. So what I did was I went onto Wikipedia and found every Ipswich Town manager since the club was created, how many matches they were in charge of, how many they won, drawn, lost, the win percentage, the points, and the points per game. So I did these 3 cells in myself, and what I did was I really like this feature, by the way. You can copy and paste straight into Tableau. So here's one I prepared earlier, and it just opens up, and you get this sort of clipboard as your data source. So I started off with this, and I wanted to create a visualization that sort of either told the story or like told a story about how our managers have done, and even compared our current manager, Mick McCarthy, and to the rest of the sort of legendary managers that we've had in the past. So my first sort of idea here, let's go to the next, was to just do a basic Gantt chart. So this is every manager, and this is their sort of win percentage. This was me just trying out chart types. If we go to unhide these sheets, you can see that I've just created a simple Gantt chart, hidden the manager name, and sort of added in the win percentage alongside it. And then on the bars, I've got their points per game and their points over every 38 games as a cycle. I didn't really like that, so I added in, I didn't think it told a full story because obviously you want to see how many games they played and have a bit of detail alongside their sort of tenure as manager. So I added this highlight table, however, as you can see, because I'm using measure names and measure values, and I've got the duration and color. It's not telling me that much. I really want my the individual metrics to pop out when I do that. But if I change, I brought measure values on there, it's just going to aggregate and say, well, 700 is the highest number of all the measure values, but this isn't what I'm looking for. So I went back and tried something different, and there's a really cool trick where you can use a dummy field. So I've used ones in this case, where you can, and then for each one you can create almost a highlight table. There's a really cool post. I can send a link. I can ask Patrick to send a link out where I found out. I think it was on Andy Carew's blog, where you can firstly bring the axis at the top and name the headers, and also have the individual columns highlighted. So I thought this was a good idea, but then because I realized that I'd done this sort of trick with the ones, I thought, hey, I can actually improve this and do something quite cool with a bar chart within the cell. So I then developed that and said, well, okay, so now I've got this. I just want to replace one of the dummy fields with an actual metrics that I can use to compare. So you can not only now see the number, but you can also see the bars. So you got the mini bars here. And then I sort of tried something different where I moved the names of the managers to the middle. I didn't really like that in the end because we read left to right, so that it wasn't the correct design choice to take in the sort of message I was going to for the message I'm trying to tell. So I ended up with this. And here you can see very much the in-cell bar charts. You've got totals at the bottom to compare with the averages for the points per game. And actually, Mick McCarthy is doing actually okay. He's doing about average for Ipswich manager. He's only been in charge of 41 games, which is, again, about average for Ipswich manager. So it might be time for him to go, but in my opinion, we should give him a bit more time, maybe till Christmas or something like that, to see how the season has gone past. And finally, my final iterative process point is championing inventiveness. So I'm a I say like a part-time basketball fan, and this is a visualization by Peter Bishai. It's called Buckets. It's a really cool one, and I particularly like these shot worms. And if some of you might be familiar with Makeover Monday, so Andy Carew or Andy Cockgreave put out a data set on Sunday night, and everyone's free to do an almost makeover and create a visualization using that data from a source that they provide. And this was my original effort for Steph Curry, his shooting averages and where he shoots from and the range and his success rate. And I did an area chart at that point, and going back to sort of buckets, I thought, hey, if I can do something similar by flipping the sort of making my measure negative, maybe I could do something very similar. So let's see if I can recreate that now. So go to Steph Curry, and what I did is I'd create bins. So distance from baskets, put that in columns, and then each row is a shot. So let's put number of records here. And the first thing I did was, okay, let's just do a dual axis. I can double click this and say, let's just do negative. Oops, let me try that again. No, I want to do it inside, and I've lost a bracket. I did bracket even. Go. And let's change these back to bars. So this is, oh, sorry, that's a line. So I started off with a bar chart. No, sorry, I started off with the area chart, and I wasn't really happy because it doesn't have the curviness that Peter Desage Buckets does. So I then changed it to a lollipop. I tried, and then I ended up with the bar chart. And this is where I was like, hey, this actually looks pretty cool. So I played around with it for a bit, and yeah, the sound wave chart, as Matt Francis helped me name it, was born. And I then posted on Twitter how I'd created it. So I actually added in a curve. So where I was talking about the lollipop chart, I actually went back and instead of using number of records here, I used measure names. So I created a calculated field here, which was inverse number of records, which is just sum number records. Okay, so there we are, and then this one, and I just bring it into show me. So I get this measure of names, measure values, bring in measure values here, and drop measure names. And now I can actually use this as a dual axis, which allows me to have both sides, the inverted and the normal. Change one of these to a circle to get my curvy top. Make my bars a bit thinner and adjust it. And of course, let's not forget to synchronize your axes. And fantastic. So, and then I added in shot success. I think I had in here somewhere. Yeah, can't remember. But yeah, I created a shot success metric and published it on Twitter, saying, "Hey, had this idea. What does everyone think?" And I received some fantastic feedback. And so I created this dashboard as an example to say, okay, I've created this as a chart that I wanted to try, and here's a use case for it on the right-hand side. But how did I actually arrive to that? So so at the Information Lab, we've got a consultant called Carl Olchin. Some of you may be very familiar with him, and he's a massive basketball fan. So I was bouncing ideas off him at the same time. So you can see that these pictures are taken while I was on the train into work when I was creating these dashboards, saying, what does this look like? What happens if I add this little legend at the top? Do I make it smaller? Should I move the text to the left? Is this line useful? Should I use the headers or not? And using Carl as a peer review was really useful because I could say, this is what I'm trying to do. This is where I'm trying to go. What do you think? And he said, you know, I asked if I should add an NBA logo, whether I should see if I can sort of make best use of my real estate on the viz and using white space. And it was really useful to just bounce ideas off him. And obviously, when you're iterating, it's never always going to be sunshine and rainbows. And the examples that I've shown, some of them happened by accident when I was trying to do something else. Others, I had a vague idea in mind when you try something different. But realistically, it's always going to be sort of having doubts is a part of the creative process. And it's easy to get lost in data itself. So don't forget to stay on message. So when you get a data set and you want to iterate, it's easy to just get lost with trying different things and not remembering the reason that you got this data in the first place or the story that you're trying to tell. Having that question is pivotal when doing this iteration because you have a destination rather than pure data exploration. So here are the 3 key messages I wanted to leave you with today. So iterating is a fantastic tool which helps you make mistakes. Second, the people around you can be used to be inspired and help you with your own work. Tableau Public is a fantastic resource for this. As Emily mentioned, the people that she mentioned on Twitter, the blogs, the Tableau community forums, all of this is a great resource we have. I'm very lucky to have such a supportive software company that allows us to leverage all of these fantastic people in our community at our fingertips. And finally, don't forget, what's the at-a-glance takeaway? Where Emily said the 5-second rule is really important. If this is, what is the medium that you're presenting on? And that is something you should be aiming towards. That when you end up with a visualization or a dashboard, you should be ready to say, okay, this is how I'm going to present it. These are the key messages I want them to take away. And then reviewing, does it deliver that message? It's always good. Again, this comes back to using people around you to do peer reviews or to do checks and asking whether these messages are met. So finally, I want to leave you with this message. To improve is to change, and to perfect is to change often. And don't forget, you can only need to make it once, but you can make it better as many times as you want. Thank you for listening.
Ravi, thank you so much. Hey, could you do us a quick favor? We had someone ask about creating a lollipop chart. Could you just create one really quick? Yeah,
sure, absolutely. So I'm going to just use Superstore for that. So let's just use a category. If I can find category, same product, there we are. So we bring in category onto rows, or columns rather, and then we bring in sales. And a lollipop chart is essentially 2 things. It's a bar chart along with a circle plot. And in order to do that in Tableau, what you need to do is I hold down Control. So I'm holding Control now and move it to the right. And then you can right-click and then select Dual Axis. In this case, again, remember to synchronize your axis before doing anything. But what you can do now is you have now these 3 marked cards. So you have the all, sales, and the second sales. So what we do is just change one of them to a circle. So you get the circle pop up as well as your bar. And then the way you can do that now is just go to the bar chart, make it smaller and thinner, and then you get a lollipop chart, and then you can hide the axis on the right. Okay, does that answer the question?
Yep, you just exactly did what I was typing as well in the response. That's great to have it on screen.
Sure.
I was also going to just say if you wanted to, or I can show it if you want to. There's a conditional formatting article on Drummy's website on drawing with numbers that Emily had shown earlier. The 2 key words when you're searching the community for that type of chart with where every column has its ability to do kind of the unique formatting that was shown. You can do that with this conditional formatting. So those are the keywords to search for in the community. And then on Jonathan Drummy's Drawing with Numbers, there's a specific article about how to do this that people may want to explore. Okay, in just a second, I'm going to see, and I don't see any other questions there. Oleg, let's see if there's. I'm just checking all the questions. We had a thank you, and so Emily we might try and get some of your audio, and I'll look at the presentation, see if we might want to fill a little bit of that in. I think it's enough there that everyone can make it out, but I'm going to just review that as well. Are there any other questions from the audience? We had a number of attendees. Before we let go, give it another minute or 2 here. I don't see anything new, so that's good. Well, thank you. Thank you both of you today. And Ravi, you said you are not coming to TC. I know Emily is.
Yeah, unfortunately I'm not.
Okay.
But I'll be there in spirit. I will be there in spirit. I will be in there in spirit. Look out for the daily school guys. So Pablo, and I, Emily, and I think Lorna are going. So look out for those guys. Great.
We will definitely miss you there. For anyone else coming to TC, please hunt down Emily. Emily, you're on. Are you going to be doing a podcast from TC this year as well? Oh, I don't hear her. I wonder if we lost her audio again. Last year they did Matt Francis did a live podcast from TC. So if you have a chance to see Emily, please stop by and say hi to her as well. And without further ado, thank you again so much for attending this morning. I will have this presentation up on YouTube. Usually I can get it up by this afternoon, so it should be up there for you to review again as much as you like, and stop and replay any of the portions of the presentation that you'd like to kind of dig in on. And there's a lot of other great content up there on that YouTube channel. So it's the Tableau software YouTube channel with the playlist is Think and Talk Data. And there's I think there's over 40-50 videos that we've done now that are out there. So thank you again. Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Emily. And take care and have a great week.
Thank you. You guys.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.